Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Smoking big cigars. I hope you're ready for what's coming now. I'm the one, I'm the lady that would bring it down. There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the river, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this
Welcome to Winning in the Workplace, where we help executives, managers, and supervisors become great leaders by becoming more aligned and more collaborative with each other and across departments. I am your host, Maurice Velasquez. It is great to have you here. We are broadcasting this podcast live on Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, and all the major platforms, as well as Apple Podcasts and iTunes and Spotify. To find me on these platforms, simply type in Maurice Velasquez or type in Winning in the Workplace. Also, visit me on my website at mauricetraining.com. There you can register yourself and your team to attend my upcoming Leadership Alignment Summit training. You don't want to miss it. On my website, you can also book me to speak at your event, at your conference, or to speak to your team in person or on Zoom. And also you can download my books and access my video library. Okay, today we have a great show. I have David Day in the studio with me. I've known David for many years. We go back a long ways. We've worked on many projects. And he's going to peel for us how the digital marketing and the advertising world has radically changed in the market and how we can build both our brands and our lead generation at the same time without sacrificing one or the other. Incredibly insightful. I'm looking forward to it. Something I want to talk about that came up this week with a couple clients, and that's this whole idea of ideas. Pitching ideas. It's one of the hardest things that we do. We walk into a meeting and we've been preparing to bring something up, whether I have a formal presentation or I have a slideshow, or I just kind of want to bring it up. And then we immediately, the first words out of our mouth is something negative. Okay, something like, well, look, guys, I just want to run this by just using the word just. And then I say, well, it's not like I wanted to do this. Then why'd you bring it up? Whenever it's time to sell our idea, and that's a key word I'm using, sell. Whenever we're trying to pitch an idea, tell our idea, we're bringing to the table one of the most powerful things that we can bring to the workplace, and that is a good idea. And we get in the way of our good idea because we don't know how to pitch. We don't know how to present. We're uncomfortable about it. And oftentimes at the very offset, we make comments that kill our ideas. One of the ways we do that, I just gave you one by using the word just. Another one is you have an idea and you know you want to present, and then you say, so guys, everybody, I just want to see what your thoughts are. Well, wait a minute. You had that kernel seed of a great idea inside of your brain, and the first words out of your mouth is you want people's opinion about what you're about to say, but they haven't heard what you're saying yet. So you've already introduced for them to speak to it when 2 minutes later, you're going to complain that, wait, hold on, guys, you haven't heard my idea. Well, you invited me to not hear your idea. So pitching an idea, telling your story, giving your thoughts, we got to practice that. And this happens at a micro level, macro level, where I'm trying to pitch my idea, or I'm trying to tell my story, or I'm trying to sell the company, I'm trying to sell my services, I'm trying to advertise properly. That whole idea, there's some baggage in there, some obstacles that we build into it. So look, I could go on, I could go on a long time, but it is something we got to cover into the podcast. But I do want to bring in my great friend, good friend, colleague. We've worked on many projects together. David, are you still in here? Hey, man.
I'm here.
You're
Can you hear me good? I'm good.
Did we treat you well? Did you get some coffee?
Oh, man. I mean, just royal treatment.
I
Absolutely. This virtual office thing works great. Your staff is so amazing.
It's, it's artificial intelligence. It's virtual coffee. It's virtual staffing. It's a virtual red carpet. Dude, I mean, come on.
That's right. That's why it's a podcast. It's not a meeting.
Half of our audience is going to start thinking, all right, is he a real or is this an avatar? All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, hey, David, thanks for joining us, man. So I know you heard some of that.
Yeah.
So give me your thoughts.
A lot of folks are scared to death to present something they're even sometimes afraid to walk into their boss's office and say, I have an idea. I was in the staff meeting. I had this thought, but I didn't want to say it to everybody else in the staff meeting. I just want to bring this up. What about, and that's really not a bad tactic. I think that's a good idea. If you talk to 10 or 15 or 20 or more people, is talk to the decision maker one-on-one. If you've got the opportunity, if you've got the time, that's great. But some people are even scared to do that. And I wonder, you were talking, I was wondering, why is it that people are afraid? Why are they afraid to present? So I think we have two things going on there.
What do you think it is?
I think there's two things going on. One is just standing in front of people and the fear of public speaking. So if I have to get up and make an official presentation, that's like one thing. The other thing is, if I go one-on-one with my boss and I present an idea and he shoots it down, then I feel like I might be risking my position at work. I feel like I might be risking some credibility, or maybe I haven't thought all the way through it, or maybe he'll make it look like a fool.
So it's not just the issue of rejection per se, it's the issue of there being a consequence to it.
Yeah, I tell you how I've coached several people on this, and I have to coach myself through it sometimes. For me, because I love to speak in front of people, so I don't have that problem, that concern or personality that I love to get in front of people. My wife, though, is an engineer. And she is very much a people person, but speaking in front of an audience was never her thing. I came up, like, as you know, at Baton Rouge High, and I was in radio broadcasting, right? So I wanted to speak in front of as many people as I could get. She, on the other hand, was more academic. But here's what happened to her, and I think this is probably a common thread. The more she learned her subject matter, the more confident she became in her subject matter, the more she anticipated who her audience was and what questions might come her way, and research those in advance, the more eager she was to make the presentation.
That's good.
So I think preparation, I think subject knowledge, preparation, knowing what you're talking about, that covers a multitude of fear.
No, we've already dived in. Put a pin on that because, dude, I never introduced you. Okay. So I just had you in.
True.
So I apologize for that. I mean,
well, you said my name. That's enough. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
In full disclosure, David and I go back, ninth grade. You were in 11th grade, I think, or you were a senior. I can't remember. I just knew you were one of the older guys. Okay. And then I think our paths have crossed like 6,200 times. I can't get rid of this guy.
Might as well bring him on the podcast,
We've had the pleasure. I've had the pleasure of actually making money with you. We've actually worked on several projects together. We worked on many projects. You've done a lot of work for me. I've done work for you. It's been really a great relationship. So appreciate you kindly from a personal basis, but professional as well. So good to have you. So we promise. You promise none of those stories, okay? And otherwise, I got 3 I'm ready for. You come out, I'm coming out, all right? So.
That's right. Mutually assured destruction. That's nice. I love it.
That's right. I am going to get on a couple of our Facebook groups and, let everybody know, hey, guys, David and I. So
awesome. That's good.
Everybody, this is David Day, great friend of mine, incredible professional. You've had the Day Group for how long?
Since 1995, in one form or another. I've reinvented the company several times during that process. Yeah. Some of it was a little bit dormant. 1995 is when I started the company. Yeah.
You were the first advertising company that I went to when I started my company in 94. I drowned for, a year and a half. You helped me out.
I do.
And boom, a lot of things connected. So kudos on helping me out. But no, you're good at it. So tell us a little bit about just who you are, a little brief bio, and then we'll dive back in.
Yeah, the best way to describe what I do currently, and I'll start from now and kind of back up. I bill myself out basically as a fractional CMO. CMO is a Chief Marketing Officer. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken my 28 years of running the Day Group, this month actually, 28 years, taken that experience plus the 6 years before that at another agency, plus all the schooling and everything else before that. And I've put that together into sort of a consultancy, but it's more of a practical consultancy. So companies can hire me to help run their marketing, either as the lone marketer at that time or as part of a team, or usually the leader, or to build a team. So what I do is I come in and help the C-suite develop their marketing strategies, their marketing team, or their marketing objectives. I help them to implement those until such time that either they feel like they can take it over, and most often that is a planned process, or whether they feel like, okay, we have what we need. Now we need to just use your services on a case-by-case basis. That's fine too. We just kind of create it as it goes. What I found, Maurice, over time is that a lot of companies don't want to hire an agency because they're expensive. Ad agencies are great. I've owned and operated an ad agency for many years, but we tend in the agency business to want to sell what we do. And we want to hammer everything looks like a nail. So agencies are out getting business and they want to do these things for that business. Well, I've flipped that on its end, and I don't have these buckets that I have to fill back at the office. I just talk to the client and find out what the client needs. And then I find ways to help that client get what they need. Sometimes it means, hey, Maurice, can you help this guy? Because I can't. Sometimes it means, hey, let me come on board as your fractional CMO for 6 months. Sometimes it means, you know what? We just need to do one hire here.
By fractional. What do you mean by
fractional means I don't work full time for you and I don't work as a W-2 employee. I'm a 1099. And so I come on board in a part-time fractional kind of way. It's temporary part-time work.
Got it.
But I do the full-time job because what I do is focus only on the tasks that need to be accomplished. I'm not focusing on the water cooler conversations. I'm not necessarily focusing on some of those other aspects that a full-time employed CMO would need to focus on. I'm not taking trips with the company. I'm not doing those things necessarily unless that's part of the strategy.
That's great. That's good. All right. So give us your website and contact information.
Yeah, the website is thedaygroup.com. Very simple.
Okay.
TheDayGroup, thedaygroup.com. And dday@thedaygroup.com is my email. That's an easy way to get me. And all my contact information really is right there at the website. I'm somewhat active on Twitter, Facebook, and that sort of thing, but I find that there's more noise than constructive conversation there a lot of times. Sure. But I can be found there, and I'll be alerted if you want to contact me through social media as well.
Great. Are you
Facebook,
on LinkedIn?
Twitter, and all that? I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, absolutely.
All right, perfect. All right, well, good. Dive back in. Let's go ahead and finish some thoughts we are having regarding presentations, ideas, and then let's segue into what we're going to talk about, and that is the whole world of advertising and trying to make sense of some real confusing things going on, and how do we make sense of some of this? I'm glad I have you here. I have some questions I got to ask you about that because
awesome. That's great. That's great.
So, all right, pick up where we left off. Presentations or ideas or pitching there.
Yeah, I think to me the main thing is even if it's just an idea off the cuff, take a beat and think through it just a second and think about your audience. And this is advertising 101. Think about your audience. What questions are they going to have after you share with them your idea? Okay, answer those questions at least in your mind before you walk in the room. At best, you can have it all organized and written down and put it on a slide or whatever if you're going into a presentation. But anticipate the objections, anticipate some of the things that might come up. And you know what? I don't know is a fair answer even. That'll take a little pressure off of you because you don't have to know everything about an idea. It's not a strategy you're presenting, it's an idea. So if you're presenting an idea, you don't have to know everything.
Fine, David, that when it comes to ideas, it's the one thing that we carry closer to us than almost family and loved ones, okay? Because even amongst and between families, not listening to each other's ideas, I mean, how much is that not a cause of conflict between couples? He does not listen to me. She does not listen to me. And what it boils down to is I have something to say about that, and I just cannot get in word edgewise. So we value ideas really tightly because they're personal, okay? And yet the way that we pitch them and explain them or put them out there, we're so careless. And then we complain and wonder why we're not being heard. I'll be very transparent with you. I am horrible at pitching my own ideas to my own team, to my family, to my clients.
Why do you feel like you're bad at that?
No, I just am.
Are you afraid to share your ideas with your team?
Yes. You see, now this became therapeutic. This wasn't supposed to be therapeutic this fast. Okay? I mean, come on, you know? Everybody's sitting there going, ooh, now I got goosey. And it's like, now is Maurice is going to get into his own private.
Well, I think you're probably putting your finger right on some of the wound there. I mean, a lot of folks
I agree. And if this helps everybody, at least just to come to terms with the fact that you just got to own it. So yes, let me answer your question. I can help others, okay? But when it comes to telling my story, and I love the fact that when you and I talked about the podcast, you said advertising. It's like, it has been a source. My wife 2 nights ago, we're talking about it. She says, honey, this has been a nail. It's been a pebble in your shoe for a while. And I'm like, yes, It's been a thorn in my flesh for a long time, telling my own story. So I talked to a colleague of yours about, 3 months ago. Don't get upset with me, okay? Talked to a colleague of yours, and he basically is in the same space. He said, so Maurice, are you telling what you do convincingly well to prospects? And I go, no, I'm horrible at it. My advertising sucks. Okay. I'm spending so much money every month. I'm not getting what I need from it. You know what I'm saying? And it's got everything with you told me that had to do with this. Okay. Because we're all sinking a lot of money in advertising. We're doing something wrong. Yes.
Yes. That's exactly right. I've heard this. I've had this conversation more times than I can count. I think it's almost comical when people say, no, advertising doesn't work for us. It just doesn't. We've tried it, doesn't work. And I think, boy, that's really a bold statement. I wonder if Coca-Cola would agree with that. I wonder if Disney would agree with that.
Right.
Name some big companies off the cuff. And, maybe there's some out there that don't advertise, but the ones that are top of mind definitely do. And that's probably why they're top of mind. Advertising does work, but often we're doing something wrong. I think what we're doing wrong is it's hard to diagnose and just put a blanket statement on it. But I created a chart, and I can actually show this to you if you want. I can actually share this on my screen if you want.
Hold on.
If you could let me share my screen, I can show it to you.
Yeah. That was not in the notes. Okay. So you caught me off guard.
I'm sorry. Let me see if I can. This is a diagram that I created. It kind of reveals some of the reasons why your advertising might not be working. I mean, this is not the exhaustive deal. Books have been written, and I'm in the process. But advertising is a function of the brand. The B is the brand in the middle. That's the hub. Think of your company as a wheel or a tire. Some kind of a wheel. This is called the brand wheel. Your company is a wheel. The hub is the brand. The spokes are media, market, message, and money. All four spokes have to be strong in order to hold up that wheel and make it roll. If your media isn't strong, but your money, market, message, all that stuff is, you're still going to have a flat tire, right? All four spokes have to be strong. Here's the thing that I find that a lot of people do. They determine my media is going to be social media. My market is going to be 18 to 24-year-olds. My message is going to be buy this product now. My money is going to be $2,000 a month, right? And then they'll do it for a little bit and they'll say, gee, this isn't working, so advertising doesn't work. But what they don't realize is advertising is a function of these four things. Good marketing is a function of all four of these, not just advertising doesn't work. What if you were to say, you know what? My target market is good. My message is solid. I got a decent budget. Maybe I need to try a different media. Hey, if I try a different media, the dollars may need to change. Maybe it's a little more expensive or a little less expensive. And maybe I need to change that. But you know what? If I try a different media, then my message might need to change, because I can't just say buy this now, because maybe they can't see it. Maybe I decided to go with radio. Maybe I have to describe it more. So now my message is coming into play. So I tell the story about a guy who's selling this product, and then all of a sudden he shifts gears and sells a different product with the same store and tries the same media, the same market, the same message, or a different changes his message to sell a different product that has the same money, and it doesn't work. Why not? Well, you can't sell footballs to the same people that you sell office chairs to. It still won't work.
The market one is the people that you want them to buy your product, that you are going to target them. That's right. The people, right? Your buyers.
That's right.
So understanding who my market, who might have everything to do with the people that you're trying to attract, right? And that changes, like you said, football versus office. You got to understand who everything's not for everybody.
That's right. You got to target your
that explains some of, again, I hate to make this about me, but it's like that explains some of the hit and misses. It's mostly misses. I have a large database of emails and I'm using them, but I'm probably not asking that question because I'm feeling like everything should be sent to everybody. I'm ignoring the whole market. I'm not asking the necessary questions to understand the football buyer, football ball, and the office furniture market.
Right. And segmenting those emails, for example. I mean, I just was talking with a client this morning. They have 32,000 emails. We spent the morning working on segmenting, and in their software that they use to do email marketing, you can tag those email addresses a certain topic and segment that audience based on whatever priority you want to program it as.
Yeah.
You can, previous buyer, never bought before, somebody that bought a product similar in the past, whatever information you have about that record, you can tag that information. So market segmentation is critical, because when we move over to the media end of it, media is now so fragmented we can narrow our focus really well. Once we have identified our market, we can begin to narrow our focus really, really well.
Spend a little more time on media because media has become so fragmented. Yada, yada. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Okay.
Break it down. Break it down to layman's.
Okay. 25 years ago, you had radio, television, billboards, signs, traditional media, we call, right?
Got it.
Today, we have just about everything you can think of that's digital. And now, we have artificial intelligence. We have video that's very easy to produce now, comparatively speaking, to years before. We have so many avenues now, and so many avenues that are geared towards certain audiences that our target audiences are already built for us. The media is already built for the audience, not just the message. Does that make sense? Yep, now we have radio stations. They're very specifically targeted to certain audiences, and we have digital media channels, podcasts like this one that's targeted toward a specific audience. So you don't want to just say, I'm going to advertise on podcasts. Well, which one? We need to know which podcast, which ones are best to advertise on. Where are you going to advertise on social media? How are you going to advertise on social media? There's so many questions that need to be answered rather than just saying advertising doesn't work. I can promise you that when advertising doesn't work, it's usually a factor of one of these four spokes is out of line.
This is great. This just right here, this pays for the whole show right now. So this is great. I mean, I'd understood these things, but it's a very easy wheel to understand. You've clarified some on the market side, the media. So let's go with you want to keep going down counterclockwise? You want to go to money?
Yeah, it's really the same principle. Basically, I just tell people this is a dynamic relationship. When one of these elements changes, it's possible that the other one or the others may also. It's more expensive. Some media is more expensive than others. So if you change your media format, if you change where you're going to advertise, it might cost a little bit more money or a little less money. That's why we use in the media business a cost per rating point or a cost per thousand type of moniker. That levels the playing field no matter what media I'm looking at. What are my impressions that I'm getting per $1,000? It almost doesn't matter what the measurement is as long as it's apples to apples, I can compare billboards to television. I can compare billboards to Facebook advertising by leveling the playing field and working off of a cost per impression. Nice. And I can see what is it going to cost. So if I really think that the impact of a billboard will really, really help me more so than my Facebook ad or vice versa, then I need to look at those dollars and where they could come into line. And if I want to spend the same amount of money, I'm not going to change my budget, then I have to understand that my reach or my frequency is going to change. Reach is how many people, your eyeballs or ears or subjects or prospects you're reaching. Reach is the reach. And frequency is how many times. So when we buy media, our function of reach and frequency is part of that mix. And so
this is good. This is really good. I was going to ask you about that because it feels, the last 8 minutes or so, have felt very, you use science. There's a reason, there's an art form to it. There's a structure, right? I mean, there's like in piano, you got if you learn your scales, you're probably going to be good. Doesn't mean that Mozart is going to make you a Mozart, but that's the art side of it. But it does seem to be very structured. You just have to understand the wheel and then know what questions or what topics under each category, right?
So that's exactly right. It's not uncommon for somebody to stumble on a really great mix and say, I really thought my business would do well if I advertised Meta and use Facebook, Instagram, and they start advertising, and all of a sudden 30, 60, 90 days into it, they're making a killing.
I see the model. Let me share with you my model. It's called the casino approach.
Okay.
You simply put a lot of money in your hands and you blow on it and you go, let's see if it works this month.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, and then, let's try that again. And then, then by the end of the night, you lost a lot of money. Sure, you made money here and there, but at the end of the day, and then how do I repeat that? You know what I'm saying? I just, I don't think I'm the only one that does the casino model.
Yeah, I think that's really common. Because honestly, after years of doing this and having this conversation over and over and over again, I just broke it down into the pieces. And these are the big pieces. We've all heard the 4 Ps and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even remember what the 4 Ps are. Price, promotion, and
you just remember that there were 4 Ps.
Right. Place, product, place, price, promotion. Anyway, but the 4 Ms are media, market, message, money.
Oh, there they are, the 4 M's. There you go.
The 4 M's are media, market, message, money. So to make your brand move forward, and that's another conversation, maybe for another time. I don't know. You can ask if you want, but The brand is the hub. That's the power that drives everything.
If you wouldn't mind, finish off the fourth one, messaging, because we've already talked about market, media, money, dive a little bit into message. And then I have some questions I want to ask you about branding.
Yeah. So messages is sort of like that analogy I gave earlier of the guy who goes from selling office chairs to footballs. If your message is going to change, then you might want to change your media, because 13-year-old boys buy footballs, but they don't buy office chairs. So 13-year-old boys don't listen to talk radio, but people that buy office chairs do. So maybe you're advertising office chairs on talk radio, and now you're trying to sell footballs. So you might want to change your media. If you end up changing your media, it might be a little different money that you're going to have to come up with. And by the way, since your market has changed, now the 13-year-old boys instead of 40-year-old men or women, there's going to be a little bit of different way that you communicate the message as well. So it's a very fluid, dynamic situation. What I do in advertising is we walk through a process with our clients before we ever spend a dollar on advertising. We go through this process to identify what your strategy needs to be.
You mean you go through this process? You're talking about this, right? You take them through this conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what they have at the end of the time is this document that spells out exactly what media, market, message, and money we will pursue.
Okay, so look, let me put it on your calendar. In June, I've already made the commitment to myself, my team here, my wife. Okay, in June, I'm not only going to change advertising approach, but I'm going to be writing different kinds of checks to somebody. Okay, so dude, I need to talk to you.
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Now it became real personal. Again, everybody else, okay, I'm sorry, everybody else. I'm letting you into my sausage making, but I'm hiring David, okay? So if he's too busy next month, it's because I got him for the next 2 weeks.
Finally got him after all these years. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'll help you out, Mo. No problem.
No, this is really good because I can already tell the things I've been thinking about. All right, gosh, I know I'm seeing this incorrectly. It gives me a lot of clarity. So this becomes a really good assessment tool. Is that correct?
Very much so. And you have to keep going back to it because the nature of business changes. And what I've seen in the digital marketplace, I thought this, Maurice, I need to trash the brand wheel now that digital marketing is so, probably about 6-7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, we started spending, 30% of our budgets became digital. I was like, I got to throw out the brand wheel. That's not going to work anymore. Absolutely. All that affects is one piece of it. It's just media. Digital media is one other form of media. Is it nuanced? Okay. Absolutely. Is it much more fragmented? Absolutely. Do you have to get an expert engaged and involved when you really want to do the really good analytics and SEO? And I partnered with the best. And what I do is I write the strategy and I turn loose the wizards.
On Fridays, you and I are recording on Fridays. On Fridays, this is when I meet with my social media specialist and we go over all this. Okay. Met with her this morning. And so we started putting a budget together. So again, I really need you to come talk to us. So what does that look like? Let's step away a little bit from the actual tool, but I want to come back to branding. Come back to how do you help a small team? What does that look like? Okay. And who do you talk to? Do you talk to the Maurice of the world? Or you talk to the most social media specialist? And then how does that last? I'm sure companies some companies are in the same position I am or close by. I need to turn the ship around because I need different activity to happen. And I can't sit here and wait 8 months. Right. What do the mechanics look like working with you? What can I expect in what timeline?
That's a really good question. I tend to want to say it's kind of different every time, but it's really not.
I would assume that it has to, but just
there are some nuance. There are some nuanced differences, but really, Maurice, what I do is I start with the end in mind. I just ask the client, where are you going? And a lot of times they're so immersed in the moment, they haven't even thought about where they're trying to be. We start painting a picture of what success looks like. What does it actually look like? People say, I just want to make money. Okay, how much? I want to make this much money. Okay, great. Why? Because I need to pay my bills. Okay, great. So what is it about paying bills that helps you? Let's keep digging. I start asking a lot of questions. By the way, I'm a certified executive leadership coach, which comes in handy when I start talking about this stuff. Because I start asking questions in a real Socratic method. And sometimes people get really mad at me. I'll give you a great example. One time I was talking to a client and they were saying, this is not working. Advertising doesn't work. I've tried 100 different things. They were selling office equipment. And they said, I don't think you can help me. And I said, maybe not, but let's talk. And I said, why should somebody use you versus your competitors? Well, there's a lot of brands out there. Our brand is one of the best. And, but really it's our service. And I said, really? Tell me about service. She says, well, we have really highly technical people and they really know what they're doing when it comes to service agreement. I said, so what? How does that help me? From a standpoint of a customer, how does that help? What is the action point that I can derive from that? That's what I was going for. And she says, well, I mean, that's our service. We have better service. I said, so what? What does that mean? How does that help me?
You would get me mad, but I see where you're going.
It's very genuine. And she said, well, I don't understand what you don't understand. I don't know why you don't understand that when I say service, that's our competitive advantage. And I said, because your customer doesn't either. That's why your advertising's not working. Tell me something I can hold on to when you say service. What is your point of differentiation? And she goes, well, I don't know what you want to know. I mean, my God, we offer service. We tell people we'll be there in an hour or their service is free. I don't know what else you want me to say.
Boom.
Exactly.
Boom.
Exactly.
Boom. It's like an air conditioning company that I heard one time say, we are different to the point when you go upstairs and look at the work we did, you won't find the mess because we clean up after ourselves.
Yeah, something that they can hold on to.
He was making hands over fist telling people that story.
Yeah, and let me ask this question. How difficult is that to just clean up after yourself?
But they made that their unique selling point.
Yes, they did. They created differentiation, not just by doing it. The problem with my friend that was in the office equipment business was she was doing the right things, but she wasn't saying it. She wasn't marketing it well. She wasn't communicating her message.
Let me tie it back to our initial conversation. I have an idea, but I come to the meeting and I just won't say it because we'll find 50 reasons why not to let that thing out of our mouth.
In that case, she didn't think it was relevant. She had to have somebody bring it out in her that realized that it was relevant. Because what do? I'm in advertising. I'm in marketing. I'm going to say something here that you may disagree with. And if you do, please speak up. But nobody cares about your story. You know, I know Story Brand and I love Don Miller and I loved all that. And I practice a lot of the Story Brand stuff. But you know what? Nobody cares about the Day Group. Nobody cares about Maurice.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
You know what they care about?
Themselves.
Yeah. So why aren't we talking about them? Why are we talking about us all the time? What can I do for you? That's what I ought to be talking about. What do I offer that benefits you? That's what I ought to be talking about.
Have I already told you that you paid for yourself already once? Because now you just paid for yourself twice. Okay.
Well, it's worth that burnt coffee you gave me in the lobby, so that's good.
Keep complaining, man. I won't stream this at all.
No, I mean, it's true. We get on our websites and go to just about any website and do the Day Group test to a website. I go to websites and I'm like, how many times on the first page are you going to tell me about yourself? And you haven't said anything yet that identifies with your customer. You just got to try to create headlines that connect with what people's pain. What's the itch? What are they feeling? Why do they come to the website in the first place? They're probably coming to an AC repair person's website because their AC is broken. The first thing I would say if I was an HVAC guy is, are you hot? Because you know they are, they wouldn't be coming. And then sometime around October, I'd probably change that to heater not working or something, you know?
So is it reasonable to say, look,
or maybe better would be, I know you're hot, by the way. That would be better.
Okay. Yeah, instead of a question. So is it reasonable to expect that the formula is this, or perhaps the domino effect, not the formula. The domino effect is my advertising should drive people to where I need them to go, right? Let's say, for example, the website. Yes. My website should encourage you or foster you to take some type of action that I'm needing to take. I'm needing you to take. And then I should feel that action. In other words, sort of a phone call or an email. Is it reasonable to say that, but if I'm not getting that ultimate outcome, then something along the way needs fine-tuning, adjustment, or something. But something's not working if I'm not getting those phone calls, and that's what I'm trying to generate.
That's right.
Is that a reasonable expectation when companies, large, medium, or small, are challenged with this whole idea of telling their story out there?
Absolutely. And it's part of the customer journey. So we design a customer journey. It's like creating a pathway that we want our customers to walk. We lead them down that pathway through our advertising. Every step in that journey leads to where we want them to go. Again, this is a whole nother podcast, but the danger there is all we're interested in is leads. And we fail to, you remember the diagram I just showed? We fail to aid and build the hub. All we're working on is leads and today business, and we're not investing in tomorrow business by just doing lead generation constantly. But yes, advertising needs to lead to something specific. You know, we want to implant our message, our brand message in people's minds so that they're more willing to do business with us. We also want to lead them through lead generation to our website or to make a phone call or whatever the action point is. And we want to monitor the process all the way through.
Sure.
Because, I mean, you can go to websites now and you can look at heat maps, and the analytics will show exactly what it is that person did when they're on your website. It'll show you what pages they went to, how long they stayed there, if they bounced out real quick, where their eyes went, where their cursor was. It shows all those details. And we can analyze that and see very quickly, people aren't going to this page, I need to change it. Or they're going to this page and they're going from this page directly to the call button, which is great. That's what we want, Right. So we monitor all of this stuff. It helps. But that's the minutia of it. Just to finish the thought, the big picture in all of it is creating messaging that identifies and scratches an itch. It solves the pain. It alleviates the pain the customer is feeling. Mm-hmm. And all too often we're out there talking about, we were formed in 1973 and we're the oldest, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. What they care is, my house is hot. I need somebody to come fix my air conditioner. I need them to be reasonable. I need them to be courteous and clean and do it right the first time.
No,
if that's what you can do, then I'm calling you.
All right, let's go to branding. All those spokes are huge. They're important, okay? But right. I think you put at the very core of it, branding, because that matters most. Is that what I'm getting from this diagram? Or am I overemphasizing?
I wouldn't say it matters most, but I would say it's the power source. It's the hub. Okay. It's the power source for the spokes. It makes the spokes move. Without a defined brand, then you're looking for now buyers constantly. So let me give you an example. If I'm out there offering great deals, if it normally sells for $100 and today only it's $10, and I get out there and say, today only product X is $10, $10, $10, I might sell quite a few of those. But what about tomorrow? If it's not $10, will they buy it? What if it's the same price as everybody else that offers it, or maybe higher? Am I going to sell tomorrow? So when we get in this race to the bottom, I like to call it, discounting our product and going by price only as our competitive advantage or as our message out there, it's a race to the bottom, because all it does is appeals to the today buyer. Did you know that at any given time, only about 7% of your target audience is interested in your product on that day? Only about 7% of your target audience. The other 93% are tomorrow, next week, next month, maybe next year. But we spend our whole advertising dollar on that 7%.
Now, right.
What would it be like if we took our brand wheel and we said, I'm going to invest in the now buyer by offering my media market message money. I'm going to get out there and have a compelling message out there, but I'm also going to invest in my brand by differentiating myself and communicating my brand message as I advertise as well. The world right now is enamored with leads and lead generation online, digital media, right? We all want to get leads because it feels good to do something. You put your coin in the machine and you get your bag of chips out, right?
You're not saying we shouldn't. You're just saying there's a balance to how to create now and later. It's the later.
Absolutely. You got to do both. You got to have revenue to keep the to keep the business going. Absolutely.
Correct.
But here's the thing. If you advertise the brand as well as the product itself, if you advertise brand and the now to the future buyers and the now buyers together, then it's a whole lot less expensive to get the now buyers tomorrow. And then the next day, and then the next day.
That makes sense.
Why? Because 80% of the sales are given to the top 3 brand recalls. So top of mind, the companies that are the top 3 top of mind get 80% of the sales. So how do you build top of mind? Not by offering 2% today only. You build top of mind by building your brand.
Let me shift here and say this. As I listen to you, I love the fact that you earlier said that you're also an executive coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell, I'm putting my hat on as an owner. Okay. If I was an executive as well, right now in our conversation, I can't tell if you're talking to me about a strategic plan for growth or whether you're talking to me about how we're handling our budget. I can't also tell whether we're talking about marketing, advertising, because the line's very blurred since the domino effect hits all that. If I'm thinking about bringing you in, I really should be bringing you into my company earlier in the strategic planning phase so we can have this discussion way ahead of decisions being made, and now you're just having to clean up. Am I reading this correctly? You're talking very executive language, which a lot of owners need to hear this on the front end of what we're going to do next year or what we're going to do next quarter, as opposed to on the back end having to clean up what we've already messed up for the whole year. Talk to me about that. When does a company bring you in? When is the ideal time? I know you'll do cleanup work, okay?
Yeah.
When is the ideal time to bring you in?
The ideal time is when you basically sign the papers with the Secretary of State, because that's where we make fewer mistakes, because I can help make sure that you have a strategy in place where waste is minimized and the benefits of doing it right are maximized. Okay?
It doesn't matter how small I may be at that time?
Not really. No. I mean, I think if you're an independent consultant or something like that, I can consult and help you with a few things. But the smaller the company, the needs are generally far less. And so a quick conversation may help you get launched. But I've worked with sole proprietors before who kind of launched their companies. And then first client I ever had in the advertising business, and you know this very well, was a company called PC Warehouse.
That's
PC
what we
Warehouse. I'm sure
right.
you were doing computer training classes right there. You were teaching all their people how to run computers.
Well, that's how you help me, because you walked in and said, "What are you doing?" And then I told you, and one of your key questions is, anyone else know you're doing this? And I'm like, I need to talk to you. Because I don't think anybody else knows, and I don't know how to get the word out there.
Well, you were relegated at the time to just doing it for the people that they were selling computers to. Your company was so good at it, and you were so good at engaging people. I was like, you need to be doing this for everybody, and you're going to bring customers into PC Warehouse. That's worth something for them. And you're like, yeah.
I don't remember if I was this rude, but I do remember something like, duh, tell me something I don't know. Dude, I need you to tell me how to do that.
No, all I remember is I had hair back then. But I think back in the day, the budget that PC Warehouse started with, and they were really, really small. Right. This is actually before you had started doing the training classes.
Correct.
They were very, very small, like a little window strip center shop. Their budget was like $1,500 a month for advertising in the city of Baton Rouge. You can't do a lot with that. But I was young and hungry, and I was ready to get to work. By the time I moved on to other things and built the agency up, and then they moved on to other things, they turned it more into a tech team for consulting. They were doing 35 to 40 grand a month. My biggest account for many years, as I was a very small agency operating out of my home, and it was a great learning ground. So we can build small companies into big companies when we do things right. And that's what PC Warehouse did. And they have really benefited from the success. Robbie Miller and his team, Robbie's still doing work today and doing a fantastic job over at Hammond. But the point is, there's really no right or wrong time to contact me, because there are certain things that I can help fix. But if I take a look at what's going on with your marketing and you need some help trying to figure some things out, we can always build a plan to start fresh, to start something new without destroying the equity of the past. That's the biggest concern I've seen in business owners. Man, I spent so much money doing this, and now you're going to come in and tell me to change everything. It's just going to cost a fortune. Not necessarily. I'm sensitive to that too. I've redone my logo. I don't want to throw away my old letterhead. I know how to use this stuff. I know how to work this stuff in and make these incremental changes to where we can make this work.
That's good.
The bottom line is, have a strategy. And a strategy for your brand is something that's very elusive. It's not a media plan. A strategy for your brand is not a marketing. It's not your radio commercials. It's not a Facebook ad. A strategy for your brand is, what voice, what tone are you going to use? What's your real competitive advantage? What is the itch you intend to scratch? Who is your audience? What are they thinking? Not just what they're doing, but what are they thinking? What influences what they're thinking? Where else are they other than where you intend to market to them? What can you learn from the lookalikes that are available out there? So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's really good. So building your brand, would it be, I guess you're always keeping your eye on it. You're not redoing all, you're just keeping your eye on it. Is that a good way to say it?
Yes. Yeah, it absolutely is. That is a good way to say it, because brand relevance changes with the culture. For example, Bud Light, big part of Anheuser-Busch, current controversy, they're losing market share, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So how do they respond to that? What does that brand look like now internally? What are they doing? What are you talking about versus what you were talking about at the beginning of this year? How does that change? So they got to monitor all that. That's going to have to be, they're reacting more than anything. Hopefully we're not reacting, but here's the simple truth. And this is what I operate off of. And this is my definition of brand. A brand is everything people think or feel when they see or hear your name.
Correct. Okay.
Everything people think or feel when they see or hear your name.
A year and a half ago, I started a workshop, and I had a lot of younger people in the class. Okay. I'm not going to say millennials because they weren't, but just younger people. And so my logo came up, and one of the gals said, "Oh, 1992.
There you go.
Man, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. There you go.
And I said, really? 92? I was kind of shooting for 1998,
Yeah.
And she says, well, no, it's not that bad, but it's 2001, Maurice. And I said, okay. I'm sorry, everybody. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
So just, so is that what you're talking about? Is colors and the look? If it brings you back to 1948, it better have been on purpose, and that's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, very
you're not
practically
watching your brand.
speaking. Right, very practically. That's a great example of, kind of fall asleep at the wheel. A lot of companies are doing that. They take advantage of their current client base, and they haven't really thought about, how do I look to my tomorrow customer?
Correct.
And, how do I fill that pipeline with something that's really relevant, which is a big word that's missing in the marketing world. Relevance is missing. We want to do business with people that get us. We want to do business with people that understand us. We want to do business with people. And so companies too often are just, faces and names, out there. They're not actually people, but everything people think or feel when they see or hear my name, that's the brand. That's what defines and makes up the brand. And that's really hard to get your head around sometimes. So what I do is I help put words to that. I help put words to what people think or feel when they see or hear your name. And then my job as a marketer is to craft the right words, the right phraseology, the right messaging that elicits the response that I'm looking for. It's exactly what the big brands of the world have done. The big brands of the world have implanted their messages in our minds, causing us to think and feel the way we do about them.
No,
when
I say it's very practical. That's very, very practical. I can put my handles on that. So that's really good, man.
And that's all we do. That's the hub. That's the power right there. Why is it the power? Because it influences how people think about you. And how people think about you is it's the impetus of them spending money with you. That's the beginning of that relationship. If they think positively, they take an action.
We got a few minutes left. I still want to cover a couple areas, if you're okay. So I know that right now, the big thing is, of course, digital advertising. And now with artificial intelligence, it makes everyone go, huh? There's positives and negatives. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. The biggest positive for digital advertising is, I think, biggest positive is so trackable. You can see exactly what digital marketing is doing by monitoring instantaneously. It's almost like looking at the readouts on day traders, stock exchange, and all that kind of stuff. You can actually monitor what's happening with your digital advertising, and you can make very intelligent, very fast decisions and adjustments. So you save money. You can also create, the algorithms have been created to where you can see how much you're spending, and when your cost per 1,000 impressions is going up, down, or whatever, right offhand what that looks like. And you can make those adjustments from a creative standpoint, from a media standpoint. That's the strongest positive I know. That takes a lot of help, though. The average business owner doesn't know how to do that. So you need to get a digital marketing professional to help with that. The negatives are what we talked about earlier to me in digital. Digital is almost all about lead generation and very little about brand. So we get hyper-focused on lead generation, which we do in the health club memberships and, going to the movies and, movie theater, all that kind of stuff. It's these instantaneous, what have you done for me lately thing, and we're forsaking the brand. So we continue to have to dump money into it every day rather than investing in the brand to where we're top of mind when people have a need.
I can relate to that. I spoke about 3 weeks ago to a company that does help with lead generation. And I asked them this question. And by this, I'm not trying to knock them because I think there's a place for it. I think you're saying there's a place for it, but there's a balance.
Absolutely. So sure.
I asked them, I said, so here we're saying, so you're going to be able to do this and this and that and the other about lead generation. And said, yes. So I said, okay, so what happens to my existing page? And David, I've been a little surprised and shocked how often, because I've talked to more than just, how a lot of times they say, well, we're not going to touch that. And I'm like, how are you not going to touch that?
What do they mean they're not going to touch that?
No, that's not part of their service. We're going to generate leads for you because we're going to build our own landing pages. They understand very well that I'm trying to generate for you lead generation. I'm not going to send people to your website because your website probably sucks. Okay.
Right.
So your brand is probably the reason why you're looking for us, but we're not going to sit here and spend all this conversation trying to get you to learn about your brand and how to fix your brand. We're going to generate leads outside of your brand. I even challenged one of them and I said, so you're going to build a mini brand out of my brand? He said, sir, do you want lead generation? And I went, now I'm confused because they understand that this is brand and this is lead generation in the digital world, right?
Sure. Yeah. They were walking away from branding because they knew that branding is a slow burn. Branding is changing the way people think or feel. All they want to do for you is get somebody to push a button.
There's a place for that.
Absolutely.
I need the phone
you
to ring.
need sale. Absolutely. I want people to walk into my door. What good is having a great brand if people aren't buying from me, right? If you got to sell product.
So it's setting the right expectations. If I'm needing lead generation now, then have a certain expectation for that. But if what you're thinking about is that lead generation is going to create for you this long-term plan, hey, think twice, because as soon as you turn that off, the water is going to turn off as well.
What if I told you that you could do both with the same dollar?
I wouldn't believe you.
You wouldn't believe me?
No, I wouldn't believe you.
Well,
that's why you and I are having coffee on Tuesday. By the way,
that's why
we're having coffee on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I've already set it up.
So this is why somebody that's been building brands for more than 30 years is sitting here on this podcast and not somebody that's a digital marketing whiz. This is why I'm a CMO, not a digital specialist.
Got it.
Because I think big picture, and I think there's a way to build that ad where you'll get the clicks. It'll also plant an impression in somebody's mind.
Yes, I've already made this my own therapeutic private consulting out loud. Everyone's hearing about it. But yes, you're going to have to show me how to do that, because I am really tired of spending my dollars and not having the outcomes I need. I'm getting a lot for my efforts. I'm in business for a reason, right? I've been able to maximize a lot of it. But then when I go back and I go, wait a minute, am I really getting the responses for all that I'm investing in? You know what I'm saying? And so if there is really a way that you can say you can do it for the same dollars, yes, I need you to show me. Maybe you did show it to me back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I forgot all about it. I needed David Day to come in and say, let me remind you to show it to you. So I want to say to everybody else listening, call David and he'll show it to you too. You're going to have to open up that curtain for me and just show me how that's done.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to show you. There are nuances that make it different for every company, but there are some foundational principles that we need to look at and we need to follow to build the brand for long-term benefits, not just lead generation for today. That's what's happening with digital marketing. And because of that, the creativity in the marketplace is waning. We used to have amazing creative advertising. Now it's all gimmicky and it's all very short-lived, which again, if it works, and that's great. But boy, you got to knock on somebody's door every day to make them buy your product. I'd rather knock on their door once and have them go, hey, I've heard of you guys. I'm so glad you're here. Let me do this. I'll sign up for 60 days or a month or whatever. And all you got to do is, and then comes the thing that we'll talk about next time, which is customer service. Then you got to serve them well to get them to come back.
You already got 2 meals out of me. You got another podcast. Okay. So no, definitely come back. All right, let's go ahead and close up. I want you to have the last word. Give us some final thoughts and then give us your contact information all again. What did we leave on the table that we should have, or what do you want to say again? Give us your last word. Give us your last statement.
A strategy is not what you think it is. And I'm talking to probably 80% of business owners and decision makers out there. You think you have a strategy, but you have a business plan. You think somebody wrote a strategy, but it's really a media plan. A strategy includes a lot of depth that maybe you haven't thought of before, but that's what it's required in order to build now business and tomorrow business. And in today's economy, we have to be conscious of where our dollars are going and how that dollar is divided up. And if there's a way to spend the same dollar and accomplish both tasks, then everybody wins.
That's great, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on board. Please
my pleasure.
Back.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Here's my official formal invitation. You're coming back, so just open your calendar.
Awesome.
All right, give us your contact information again.
Yeah, easiest way to get me is dday@thedaygroup.com, dday@thedaygroup.com. That's my email. You go to the website and there's all other ways to contact. There's a form there you can fill out and I'll be notified and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty much, I have some helpers, but I'm pretty much monitoring my social media myself. So if you want to connect with me there, that's fine too.
That's what I want you to show me how to do.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Easy to do. Easy.
All right.
All right.
David.
Great. Thank you for having me, Mo. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Good to have you here.
Yep.
Remember, my podcast is every Friday at 8:15 Central. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to my podcast page and fill out the guest form. I would love to have you on the show. The page is winningintheworkplacepodcast.com. Again, winningintheworkplacepodcast.com. Remember, at the core of leadership is leaders and managers showing a united front with the other leaders and the other managers in the organization. It's about being on the same page, speaking as a united message, being a cohesive team. That level of alignment, I guarantee you, is the difference and what will give you the competitive edge. Your competitors are not aligned and they're not getting aligned. But if you get aligned, you become more efficient and more effective. By aligning well, is how you and your teams can win in the workplace. Thank you for being here. See you next week.